Hey everybody, Doe here, and it's finally time for the Qui-Gon Jinn Spotlight Deck card by card breakdown. As you can see, it looks a little bit different from usual. We don't have the box here or anything like that. The reason is I already recorded it, but there was a huge issue with the audio, so here I am having to re-record it. But the same thing remains. We just won't open the box, basically. So we won't open the pack. There wasn't anything significant in there anyway. There's some cardboard tokens that come with us. There's a little playmat as well. By the way, thanks to Fantasy Flight Games for sending out this beautiful playmat and the Spotlight decks so I can do videos like this for you. So hopefully it is helpful. If you're thinking about getting this Spotlight deck, we're going to go over every card in the deck, talk about how to play it, and hopefully let you help you have a lot of fun with it. Because honestly, Qui-Gon Jinn is a really, really cool leader. I've been doing some testing with him in other colors as well, so I'm actually going to throw a little bit of a Qui-Gon constructed deck list in at the end of this video if you want to take this deck a little bit further. A little bit bonus for being late on this. So I apologize, but without any further ado, let's get started. Here are the cards that we get, and first, let's take a look at the leader. Here he is, the man himself, Qui-Gon Jinn, student of the living force, cunning and heroism. His action is use the force and exhaust this leader, return a friendly non-leader unit to its owner's hand, play a non-villainy unit that costs less than the returned unit from your hand for free. So very unique ability. Basically what it means is you bounce something from your side of the board to your hand, and then you get to play something cheaper than the card you bounced from your hand for free. So you can do a lot of really cool shenanigans with when played. We'll get into all that, but that's basically the idea of it. He flips on 6, has the same ability. He is a 4/7 Force Jedi Republic when it comes to units. And when it completes an attack and survives, you do the same thing. The difference here is that you don't need the Force token to do it, which is a pretty big deal. So going over what the Force token is, again, the Force token is just this. Here we go. Which is the Force. The Force is with you. When you use the Force, remove this token from play. So it is a one-time use token that you generate from usually bases, such as the base that comes with the Spotlight deck, the Jedi Temple. When a friendly Force unit attacks, the Force is with you. So Force unit is any unit that has that Force trait attached to it. So you can generate the Force most easily by attacking with the Force unit. But there are other cards out there that generate the Force for you in different ways, but that is kind of the primary mechanic of the set, is generating the Force token and then using it for cool one-time effects. So with that in mind, let's look at what else we've got in here. We've got just some dual-sided experience tokens and shield tokens. I like that the shield isn't actually a shield. It's just, lightsaber defense against blaster bolts. It's kind of a neat little piece of art on that. You get a couple of those, of course, and then we're going to go through card by card. So let's get started. We start out with a classic from Spark of Rebellion from the first set of the game, a Sneak Attack. Costs 2, play a unit from your hand. It costs 3 less and enters play ready. At the start of the regroup phase, defeat it. This is an all-star card in the deck. You only get one of them, but if you're looking for cards to upgrade, if you want to keep playing Qui-Gon, this should be near the top of your list, because what it lets you do is play a unit from your hand for a little bit cheaper, comes in ready, and then of course you've got that kind of penalty at the start of the regroup phase, defeat it. But what works really well in Qui-Gon is you play a unit that has a Force trait, it comes in ready, so you get to attack with it. You generate that Force token, and then you use Qui-Gon's ability to bounce the unit back to your hand and use that leader ability before the defeat part comes into play at the start of the regroup phase. So this card can be used for all the good stuff and none of the bad stuff in Qui-Gon. So it makes a great addition to any Qui-Gon list, of course. I would recommend 3 of them. You get 1 in the starter deck. Let's move that so it's on screen. And then moving on, we have Luminous Beings, another rare. Cost 6. This is Command and Heroism. The deck, in case you didn't notice, is Command, Heroism, Cunning. Put up to 3 Force units from your discard pile on the bottom of your deck in random order. Give that many units +4/+4 for this phase. So, over the course of the game, you're going to have some of your units die and go to the discard pile. This is a nice way late game to use them for a big, big benefit, right? It also costs 6, so he can be played on the turn that you flip Qui-Gon, making him a, 8/11. So it'd make him just a gigantic unit. So this can be one of your closing cards. And, in my experience, that's where Qui-Gon can kind of struggle sometimes, is being able to close out the game. So that one helps you do that. We also have one of these, Luke Skywalker, A Hero's Beginning, 4 for a 3/5. But when you play another unique unit, you can see the unique units are units you can only have one of on the board at a time. You may use the Force If you do, give an experience token and a shield to this unit. So it becomes a 4/6 with a shield, which is a pretty beefy unit, honestly. And, using Qui-Gonn's ability, playing more unique units while Luke is on the board, and you have the Force token, you can kind of theoretically generate more of this stuff. The tricky part is that you have to use the Force token to use Qui-Gonn's ability, and so then you may not have it when you play that unique unit from your hand to try to activate this. So keep that in mind. Sometimes it's better to play the unique unit, activate this, then attack with this. He is a Force unit, so you can generate the Force token. Then you can use the Qui-Gon ability. So it is a little bit tricky. I would say this deck is definitely on the more advanced side. You can pick it up if you're a new player and you can learn it, but it's going to take a little bit more time than your average Spotlight or starter deck. But while the barrier to entry is a little bit higher with the Qui-Gon deck, the payoff is just that much better because you can do so many cool things. It's so much fun. I love this leader. But this card is, again, if you're looking to upgrade the deck, you want 3 of these. It's Ahsoka Tano, 4 for a 3/5 Fringe and Force. When played, an opponent discards a card from their hand. If it's a unit, you may exhaust a unit. So you do get this ability quite a bit, where you get to exhaust something on their side. So you get to produce a 3/5, they lose a card in hand, they exhaust one of their units on board, and then you get to bounce this with Qui-Gon so you can use it again the next turn. And getting into a rhythm where you're playing Ahsoka Tano and then bouncing her back to your hand is, I think, a big part of what makes Qui-Gon really strong, because you can start to really drain people's hands with that. So yeah, definitely an all-star card in the deck for sure. Now, next we've got another one of our one-ofs, kind of going through all the rares here. It's Maz Kanata. When you play another unit, give an experience token to this unit. So this is kind of a nice card to be able to play and then just have out there while you're bouncing units, playing more things for free. You're generally playing more units on the board in your average turn than most other decks. And so Maz Kanata can get pretty large pretty quick in this starter environment. Or spotlight environment, I should say. So a good addition there. Now we get into some of the special cards. So they've got the S rarity here because they're only found in the spotlight decks. This is Anakin Skywalker Force Prodigy. 1 for a 1/1 hidden. He can't be attacked if he was played this phase. That's a new mechanic for the set. And then shielded. Old mechanic gets a shield. Just sort of a speed bump to put in front of your opponent. Something to play with the Qui-Gon ability. I don't think this is the greatest card in the world, but I do think it is nice to be able to just slow your opponent down a little bit. So we've got 3 of those. Next, we have a full set of Refugee of the Path. So another way, you can drop something cheap after playing something, and then it says, when played, you may give a shield token to a unit with Sentinels. So there are Sentinels in here, most notably, I would say the Obi-Wan Kenobi special unit that we'll take a look at in a little bit. This is a way that you can just make that Sentinel unit a little bit stronger. It's also a 0/3. You can attack with it. It won't do damage, but it will generate the Force tokens, so that's something to keep in mind too. And again, we're looking for some of those early game speed bumps just to kind of get in your opponent's way. You've got things like 3 Curious Flock. Very interesting. 1 for a 1/1. When played, pay up to 6. For each resource paid this way, give an experience token to this unit. So you can play it off of Qui-Gon's ability for free, and then as it comes into play, use any amount of resources you want to buff it up, basically. So that lets you get sort of a quote-unquote free 1/1 stack on it, so you can end up paying like 3 for a 4/4 effectively. So you can just make a little bit of an overvalued unit with it. And then late game, if you draw it, you just spend all your resources, make a 7/7 Juggernaut or something like that, So it is a card that has some usefulness with the Qui-Gon ability, but it also is just a card that gives you a little bit more sustain in the late game. We've got 2 of these, R2-D2. 2/4. This is from the 3rd set of the game, Twilight of the Republic. When played, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, search the top 3 cards of your deck for a card and draw it. So really great first turn play. A little bit of hand fixing, right? Discarding a card and then finding a good one from the top 3. You don't need to reveal it because you're not looking for any specific traits. You can still kind of keep some mystery going. We get 2 of these, and I think it's just a good card, for the deck. It's just a good card in Cunning Heroism, just in general, But importantly, same goes for the Porgs as well. You don't generate the Force token from attacking with this because it doesn't have the Force trait. So keep that in mind as you put together some of your turns. Next, we have another common, 3 of these. We have the Youngling Padawan, 2 for a 2/3, and when played, the Force is with you. So this is a really nice card. You use the Qui-Gon ability, bounce something from your hand, you play this card for free, and then you just get your force token right back, and you can use it with something else in the near future. So just a really easy, quick way to generate the force token. 2 for 2/3 is decently statted. You can play out in the first turn and get your force token right away. So I think a lot of Cunning Heroism decks are going to be running 3 of these. I do run 3 of those in my other Qui-Gon list. We're going to take a look at Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, you do get 3 of these. I've only got 2 here because I'm running one of them in one of my other lists right now. I'm playing a Kit Fisto list that runs Obi-Wan, so that's where that extra card is. But I assure you, you do get 3 of these special cards in the Obi-Wan list, and it's really good. 3 for a 3/5 is just great stats in general. Force Jedi Republic, awesome traits, and then when you play a Force unit, including this one, this unit gains Sentinel for the phase. So it doesn't always have Sentinel, but it does have a very easily repeatable conditional Sentinel. And, again, when you play it for free, give it Sentinel. Just another great way to have a decent body that can swing, but also take a hit or two. Also remember, when you bounce something in your hand, you're essentially healing it too, right? If Obi-Wan blocks a 4 damage hit down to 1 HP, bounce him back to hand with Qui-Gon's ability, and then when you play him the next turn, you're gonna have a full health unit again. So think of Qui-Gon's ability as a way to heal some of your units and stretch them a bit farther as well. We have 2 Maz Kanata, uncommon from the new set, 3 for a 3/4, so you got decent stats there. Underworld, so no force trait, can't generate the force token, but it says when played, you may attack with a force unit. It gets +2/+0 for this attack. So you can make that Obi-Wan that you just played swing for 5. So she can be a nice, occasional buffer, and also just a decent body on the board too at a 3/4 stat line. It's not too bad. Moving into a couple ships here. We have the J-Type 7 or J-Type Nubian Starship, 3 for a 2/4. When played, draw a card. When defeated, discard a card from your hand. So the idea is you play this, you draw a card from it, and then you bounce it back to your hand. You make sure it never dies, and so you never have to do the bad stuff, right? You get 2 of these, but again, Qui-Gon gives you a good way of enjoying the benefits of the when playeds without the detriments of some of the on-card abilities, or in this case, the when defeated. So something to keep in mind there. Now we have 3 Jedi Sentinel for our next card here. 4 for a 5/4. While the Force is with you, this unit gains Sentinel. So if you have the Force token, it's a Sentinel. Not bad, right? So, keep that in mind. We've got the Sentinel here. We've got the Obi-Wan. We've got these Refugee of the Path that can give a shield to a unit with Sentinel. So this all kind of synergizes fairly well. And again, you can play it, block a hit, bounce it with the Obi-Wan ability, and then play something else cheaper. Then we have, going to our higher end, we've got the Paladin Training Corvette Jedi Republic Vehicle Capital Ship. A lot of traits on here. 3 for, or a 5 rather, for a 3/5. So a little bit understated attack-wise, but it does say when played, you may give an experience token to each of up to 3 Force units. So decent body and space, and then gives you the ability to buff something, buff a few things on the ground too. And that can make the difference sometimes in the mid-game. So I think it's a decent addition to the Spotlight deck at least. And then we have another one of our special cards. We have 3 of the Qui-Gon Jinn's Aether Spite, 5 for a 3/6, so decent stats. But what it says is on attack, the next time you use a when played ability this phase, you may use that ability again. So it lets you double up on the when playeds, which is just nice in general. You don't need the Force token to do it too, which is pretty crucial in this deck. But the big thing to keep in mind is you have this out there, you play the Ahsoka Tano, they have to discard 2 cards. You can possibly exhaust 2 things. You can give like 2 shield tokens to something with Refugee of the Path. There's a lot of good stuff in the deck that benefits a lot from being able to double up on a when played ability. So timing when you play this, when you attack with it, is a big deal. And timing just in general with this deck is a big deal. Your sequencing has never been more important than when you're playing Qui-Gon. Moving on to 5 of the Stinger Mantis, 5 for a 4/6. When played, you may deal 2 damage to an exhausted unit. We know we have things in here that exhaust units, the Ahsoka Tano being the primary of them, and so this is a way to just sort of take advantage of this. And then, again, cost 5, you can bounce it, play it again the next turn, get that one played again. We have 2 of these. Depa Balaba, 6 for a 5/7, Ambush and Saboteur. So ignores shields, ignores sentinels, comes in swinging for 5. That's pretty good, right? You come in, you hit something for 5, it usually lives because of the 7 health, and then you bounce with the Qui-Gon ability and you can play it again next turn. So, just kind of one of your late game bombs you can just sort of keep reusing. And again, that's a big part of Qui-Gon is card conservation, right? Reusing the same cards over and over again. We've got cards like Keller and Beck that fill a similar role. When played, search the top 7 cards of your deck for a unit, reveal it, and play it. It costs 3 less. So lets you search and play a 3 or less for free, or get a discount of 3 on something else if you end up having a lot of resources. He's a big body in a 7 for a 7/7. Prime to bounce with Qui-Gon to play a 6 or less for free. So a lot of cool stuff there. And we have another 7 drop. We have the Tri-Droid Suppressor from set 3 again. Exploit 2, which you're probably not going to be using a ton of, but you do get to exhaust an enemy ground unit when it gets played. Play it, exhaust something, bounce it with the Qui-Gon ability, then use play the Stinger Mantis for free and deal damage to that exhausted unit. So again, kind of some neat combos you've got there. You get 2 of those. Moving on to what I believe is our final special card in the deck, Qui-Gon Jinn's Lightsaber. 2 for a 3/1 upgrade. Attached to a friendly non-vehicle unit. When played, if attached unit is Qui-Gon Jinn, you may exhaust any number of units with a combined cost of 6 or less. So either exhaust one big thing, which includes leaders too. If it's a lot of leaders flip on 6, that's 6 or less. You can exhaust a leader with this, which is important to think about. But you can also exhaust a lot of small stuff. 3/1 is a good stat line buff. That would make our Qui-Gon unit a 7/8, which is pretty large. So make Qui-Gon big and exhaust some stuff, right? Take advantage of the exhausted things with all the stuff we just talked about. Nice addition to the deck there. And finally, into our events, we have the Will of the Force. You get 3 of these. It's a common. Pay for, return a non-leader unit to its owner's hand. You may use the Force or lose your Force token. That's how it always is. If you do, that player discards a random card from their hand. So, being able to bounce a non-leader unit for 4 is nice, but being able to use the Force then to make them discard a random card, you could get rid of the thing you just bounced. You could get rid of something more important. So it's got that little extra hand hate kind of bonus. And Obi-Wan is very good at taxing your opponent's hand. Finally, our last card in the Spotlight deck is 2x Impossible Escape. Costs 1. You may either exhaust a friendly unit or use the Force. If you do either, exhaust an enemy unit and draw a card. So I love that this card replaces itself. You do get to draw a card off of it, and exhausting an enemy unit, obviously something, again, that this deck, benefits a lot from. So good fit for the deck, good usage for the Force token if you're not planning on using the Obi-Wan ability in a given turn, because you don't always use it, right? So I like it too. So there you have it. Let's go over some basic ideas about how to play this deck. So on a basic level, you've got the play pattern of play a card, then use the Obi-Wan ability to bounce it and play something cheaper for free. So this deck does a good job of taking advantage of a lot of when played to sort of throw roadblocks in front of your opponent. I would say make sure you know when to use the Qui-Gon ability and when not to use the Qui-Gon ability. Know when you just need that unit to stay on the board, to be a body, to be able to fight on board, because at the end of the day, a lot of Star Wars Unlimited is contesting your opponent's units on board to make sure that you stay safe and you can present threats to your opponent's life total, right? So if you're constantly just bouncing everything, you're just never going to have anything on the board. They're probably going to start building up a bigger board, and eventually you're just not going to be able to hang with it, and you're going to get overrun, right? That's the danger with this, is overuse of the Qui-Gon ability. So just be very aware of when you should use it and when you should not use it. When you're thinking about what cards to play in a given turn, sure, you might have enough resources to play the Obi-Wan Kenobi, but what if you play something else that's a little bit more expensive, or you bounce something more expensive and then set it up so you can play it for free later, right? Keep that kind of thing in mind too. Some of the good combos you're going to be wanting to look for here is definitely going to be Ahsoka Tano into a free Obi-Wan or free Maz Kanata, right? Make sure you try to bounce Ahsoka back to your hand as much as possible, because that card discard can get very oppressive for your opponent to have to deal with, and that's one of the strengths here is you don't have the strongest units on board. You don't have a bunch of big hits to their base, but you can grind them down with a sequence of smaller hits and then taxing their hand so they just simply don't have as many options to come back at you, right? So that combination of things is what's going to end up being useful. And then you've got a good amount of exhaust in there too to prevent the bigger hits from coming in. If there's something you just can't handle right away, you have some ways to exhaust it so that you can deal with it next turn, right? You're going to want to live long enough, throw enough speed bumps in front of your opponent to get to like the Kelleran Becks, to get to the Depa Balabas, your Tri-Droid Suppressors, some of your bigger units late game, right? And don't forget to play some big stuff in space too and swing at that. But that's the general idea with the game. Some really easy things you can upgrade here is I would definitely go to 3 sneak attacks. I would definitely go to 3 Ahsoka Tano's. There's a Vernestra Row card in the set that is a 3 for a 3/4. And when played, use the Force if you do ready her. She's great if Obi-Wan is flipped and you don't need to use the Force to use his ability, because then you can, bounce something, play the Vernestra Row, use your Force token, then instead to ready her, have another 3 attack on the ground. There's some nice cycling you can get into with her and Ahsoka, and so there's there are definitely combos out there I think that can improve this deck pretty easily. But I would say more than anything, just play some games with the starter deck, get used to the way the Qui-Gon ability works, and then kind of decide where you want to go from there as far as upgrades go with that. But yeah, that is the Spotlight deck for Qui-Gon Jinn. Hopefully that helped you out if you're thinking about picking this one up. I think it's a great deck. I think it's a ton of fun. I've been playing the leader a lot. And so as an added bonus, let's flip over to another screen and take a look at a Qui-Gon Jinn list that I've brewed up that's been doing pretty well so far, and I'm excited to keep refining. All right, here we are. Your hand is Qui-Gon. This is the list I've been playing around with. It is Qui-Gon Red, so not like the Spotlight deck. Instead of a Qui-Gon Green, I went with Red instead. And this deck is basically just made to remove cards from your opponent's hand and then, present threats on board to slowly grind them down, right? The idea is that they're just not going to have a lot to throw at you. It can be oppressive in the amount of hand hate there is in this deck. But it's also difficult to play. I will say this is an advanced Star Wars Unlimited deck. It's going to take some reps before you start to see some success with it. But man, when you do, you really feel like you have a lot of answers for a lot of different situations. But just to review it really quickly, like I said, this is just kind of a bonus here. We've got the Force throws, of course. Those are something that are going to be, in every Force deck until they get removed. If they ever do get suspended, right? Being able to drop one of your own cards to choose the damage that's done, or just make your opponent discard more is great. Xian Flurry at 1 of, it's really nice just to be able to give a unit ambush once in a while, just to get a little bit of extra value. Again, when you attack, you gain the Force, right? So it's a good way to hit something on board, generate the Force for Qui-Gon's ability, and then be able to send that thing back to hand. The Hotshot Blaster. Wait, I skipped Sorcerer's Blast. Sorcerer's Blast does cost the Force to do it, but it is 3 damage for 1. And so a lot of times you just need to hit that emergency button to get rid of a problem unit on the board. I think it's performed really well for me. It does use the Force, so keep that in mind for your turns. But, again, it can save you in some situations where you wouldn't be able to make a good trade otherwise. Hotshot Blaster. This is great. It really helps some of your lower attack units trade with bigger units, some of your stuff that you played early in the game that you don't necessarily need as much anymore, like the Youngling Padawan or something like that. I also love to just put it on Qui-Gon when he flips, because then he just becomes a 6/7, so he just hits really hard then. But again, a great card, and a great little ending piece too. Sometimes your opponent doesn't expect that 2 damage to come from your resources, because we're only smuggling this. Adigalia, just a anti-control piece, punishes your opponent for playing events, gets you the Force, that's great. Anakin Skywalker, 2 for a 2/3, has the Force trait, so you can attack in and get you the Force token. You can also play him on the Millennium Falcon or on the Fireball to keep that around a little bit longer. So he gives some of your ships a little bit extra value if you end up in a situation where you feel like your ships are not really under a big threat. It can help you hit harder from the air, because you do need, because you're spending so much attention on taking cards out of your opponent's hand, you need to make sure you still have ways to do damage. And so, asking yourself, is the Space Avenue the way to do that this game, is a good question. Anakin helps you get there. And you can bounce them back to your hand after attack too, so you can use them to play with the Qui-Gon ability then. So just very useful card. Fireball, of course, really nice in a world where those space decks still exist, to be able to ambush and kill something in space before it becomes a problem. Take it out before they can play a pilot on it, that kind of thing. Youngling Padawan, we talked about that. It generates the Force. I said put 3 sneak attacks in your deck, and I have done exactly that for obvious reasons. It's amazing to sneak attack some of the higher end stuff in here and get that value early. Spark of Rebellion, sometimes you just want to look in someone's hand and take a card out of it. That's useful. Jedi in hiding, decent stats, 3 for 3/3. Hidden, so it kind of is more or less guaranteed to get to attack at least once. And then the when defeated, making your opponent discard a card is in theme, right? Because remember, we're trying to make people discard a lot. 3 to Millennium Falcons. It's so good. Let me tell you what the combo is. Jumping ahead slightly. Millennium Falcon and Ahsoka Tano. You play Ahsoka Tano, they discard a card, they maybe exhaust something. Then you bounce Ahsoka Tano back to your hand, and you play the Millennium Falcon for 3 free damage in the air. Then at the beginning of the next turn, you allow the Falcon to bounce back to your hand. You don't pay for it to keep it out. And then you do the same thing again. You play Ahsoka Tano. This is assuming that you've got other units out there generating the force for you, of course. But you play Ahsoka Tano, they discard a card. You bounce her, you play the Falcon for another 3 damage. And that starts to kind of add up where you're making them discard a hand. You're always presenting 3 damage. And it gets into a really kind of scary situation for them. Vernestra Rowe is sort of like a lighter version of doing that, in that she can come in ready on the ground if you use the force. She's like a ground falcon, basically. But she fits into that combo a little bit too. Ki-Adi-Mundi, using the force to draw 2 cards is just amazing. 4/4 stat line is great. If you sneak attack this guy, so you sneak attack him, you draw 2 cards with the force. Then you attack with him because he's ready. You get the force back and do 4 damage. Then you bounce him with the Qui-Gon ability so he doesn't get defeated, and then you play the Millennium Falcon, right? Or because you have the force back, you play the Vernestra Rowe, and you get another 3/4 that can attack right away on the ground. Really, really nice combos with him, and just filling up your hand again is great. 2 Plo Koon, you do fairly regularly have Coordinate online, so but not all the time, so I did just go with 2 with him. Mace Windu, amazing card, but again, on the higher end, I think you can get away with 2 of those, again, because you're going to be bouncing them, but just getting to do 4 damage to a unit with the force is great. And then if he sticks around long enough to attack with Overwhelm, that's awesome too. Change of Heart is an absolute all-star card. If I guess you can't see my mouse pointer, but I'm showing you that right now. Change of Heart, you grab their biggest unit at the beginning of a turn. You attack with it, do a bunch of damage, or kill one of their units, then use the Qui-Gon ability to bounce their unit back to their hand and get to play something from your hand for free. It's just such an all-star card in Qui-Gon Jinn. I'm almost tempted to put 3 of them in there, but we're sticking with 2 for now. And then finally 2 Han Solos. Getting a big ambush, from hand, of course, by paying 7. He doesn't generate the force, but he's such a good card anyway. And then just being able to bounce him and play like a Mace Windu or something, or play a Plo Koon, is just super good. Sideboard is still kind of very under construction. Jam Communications, in case you run into control, get rid of some events. Bamboozle for like the Kylo Rens of the world, that are loading up on upgrades. Bombing Run for the Vader 4s of the world that play a lot of go wide stuff in space. Legacy Run for the same reason, play it in space and then, clear the board ideally. And Home One is just kind of out there for the same reason, the big heavy space stuff. But I haven't messed around with the sideboard anyway. So quick bonus at a Qui-Gon list that I've been having a lot of fun with. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Definitely subscribe as well. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.